Morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome. Dorothy here from the CCMA for our Friday Ask the Expert series. Delighted to see so many of you joining us this morning, and delighted to introduce our guest speakers. Eric Mullane, who you'll see there in the black shirt, Director of Customer Experience and Operations at Virgin Media. And Niall Hughes, who's member of the Customer Excellence team and recent winner of our big competition. So famous on a couple of fronts, Niall. So great to see you this morning. And as always, we have Niamh O'Doherty from WSI who's supporting us on the webinar this morning. We're just going to give another minute for everybody to log in, but I know it's going to be a really good discussion this morning, and Eric is happy to take questions as we go through it, Eric, or at the end, and I'm going to share what you guys have been doing in Virgin since COVID, but more importantly, and I think of relevance to CCMA members, obviously Virgin have been the victors for the last 3 years in our best customer experience category at our annual awards, and that is a really competitive category. So to win it for 3 years in a row means that you guys are obviously doing a lot right. So I know Eric is going to share some insights into that this morning, and just while people are logging on, to let you know, we'll be launching our 2020 awards next week. Forever optimistic that even withstanding COVID, we will be partying on Saturday the 14th of November in the Burlington, or the Clayton as they like to call it. So full details will be available next week, and I'll be sending details to everybody via email as normal, but do hope to see as many companies there as possible this year, and we will have a party one way or the other. Might only be a few hundred of us and not 500 or 600 like there normally is, but we'll definitely have a party. So Eric, I'm going to hand over to you if that's okay, and myself and Niamh will go off screen, and thank you again, and really look forward to the discussion this morning. Thanks a lot.
Great, thanks Dorothy, and look, thanks everybody for giving us the time today to let us talk you through some of our journey. You know, we'll give you a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of what's changed for us here in Virgin Media over the last few months, and I suppose the key message we'll try and give you is what we've really done to keep the customer at the heart of what we do. You know, I think in Virgin Media, building connections that really matter is our value and our principle of what we're all about, and I think that's really come to the fore over the last few months. So we'll take you on a little bit of the trip we had. I think, as Dorothy said, look, feel free to jump in with any questions you have as we go, or there'll be a little bit of time at the end as well if anybody has questions. So to start us off, I suppose, you know, we were on a journey a little bit, I'd say, in delivering a Virgin experience pre-COVID. So I think some of you may have seen some of the changes we made to our service model over the last few years. So we had deployed our messaging channel. You know, we had started dealing with customers over WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. We had deployed some visual tools where we used a tool called TechC to allow us visually work with our customers remotely. So I think fortunately we were on some of that journey. So when COVID hit, I think some of the changes that we needed to make, we already had laid the groundwork for, which was good, but I think we then had to double down on that. So really quickly, we had to move from a situation of saying we were using traditional voice channels to saying, well, what are we going to do? So I think if I said to you at the beginning of March, we probably had kind of less than 5% of our technical resolutions coming through in a visual way or a remote way. And then, by the end of March, I'd say we were up to 25% of our support in that way. If I looked at our messaging channel, we were probably sitting around kind of 20-30% of our conversations taking place in that channel. Again, by different stages in March and April, we were up at kind of 70-80% of that. So we'll talk you through a little bit of what's changed and then how we've kept the customers at the center of that. So what changed? Well, first, I suppose how our teams worked and how they interacted changed. So, I suppose as everybody, we had kind of traditional teams, some working in the call center, some working in the field, some working in back office, some working in development. But as we moved from the standard kind of operations that we had into the new world, we found that we had to bring our teams with us and be a little bit more flexible. So from going from those teams being not quite siloed, but being in their own work stream, we said actually everybody has to jump in together. So our frontline teams became far more cross-skilled in what they were doing. And also looking at our back office team saying, well, actually, can you support our frontline teams? So we ended up with field engineers sitting, talking to customers. We ended up with field engineers supporting our call center teams and back office teams, even order loading. So again, it gave us a real change. And actually, we've ended up in the scenario now that we feel we can handle bumps in the road like this in a much more agile environment. And I think also our project teams and how we manage them as well needed to move into that agile type format. So again, we were looking at saying, okay, everybody's gone home, they're all working remotely. how do we do things a bit differently, and how do we continue to deliver change? How do we further deploy the systems that we needed to keep supporting our customers? So the project teams would have come into little scrum groups, and they would have worked together in an agile environment to deploy that. So you'd have had people from the call center, people from the IT teams, people from the billing team, all working together remotely in an agile environment to say, right, this is the solution that we can deliver to our customers. Second to that, our customer needs. So for us, it was about saying, well, what are our actual customer needs? And I'll give you a little bit more depth as we go through, but understanding exactly what our customers need in this time, how we can support them, and what that means for them and for us. So I think we've always prided ourselves, I said at the beginning, that our value of building connections that really matter is paramount to everything we do. And I think that really found its time when we were going through COVID. So actually, for us, I suppose we went from an environment where customers loved our entertainment, they loved our services, to saying actually it became essential to them, that they weren't able to function, they wouldn't be able to stay safe, they wouldn't be able to stay home if our connectivity wasn't there. And I think that, getting that sense of purpose and that real clarity from our customers allowed us to say, okay, well, actually, let's support our model and make sure that it's set up in that way to deliver for them. So I don't know about all of you, but I was joking with someone recently. I said, I can't imagine having gone through a lockdown without broadband or without connectivity in that way. One, we wouldn't all be sitting here on webinars like this. Two, our kids wouldn't have been able to stay connected to their schools and their friends and their environment. And three, we wouldn't have all been able to work remotely and support the kind of the great work that the health services were doing to try and keep us all safe. So I think as a business, it really allowed us to say, okay, that is our sense of purpose, that's what our customers are about, and really double down on that. I think thirdly, if you look at what changed, is our remote resolution. So as I think I said at the start, we had laid some of the groundwork of this. We had visual tools, we had some messaging channels set up that were working quite well. But actually, the support model changed to say that was our primary focus. That was the way in which we would engage with our customers going forward. So as I said, if I looked at the journey we were on, early March, we probably had one team working remotely. By the second week of March, I should say, we had all our teams working remotely. We had offshore call center partners that would have been working with us. They went into lockdown, they disappeared as well. So we had to bring in new teams to support our customers onshore in Ireland. So we actually hired 100 new people, but they all had to work remotely as well. So our whole model moved to one of remote resolution, both for our staff and for our customers. So we also looked at deploying new tools, I should say, sorry. So we brought in some new functionality to allow our call center teams and our field engineers to actually remote diagnose the customer's issues. So we deployed a new remote analysis tool that would mean that a field engineer would not need to go into your home. He could actually, remotely connect, and he could see with, what was it going on in your in-home setup. He could diagnose it, and he could actually potentially remotely fix it as well. Or if he did need to go into the home, that he was able to do it for a much shorter period of time. We gave access to our frontline teams to those tools as well, so that then, again, as the customer came through the journey, we were able to show them that actually we don't need to be out with you. We don't need to be in your home to fix these issues. At the same time, as I said, as I'm sure a lot of you were in a similar boat to us. You were moving staff from an office-based environment to a remote environment, or you were similar to us, finding teams that were working for you in offshore environments, also going into lockdown and having to move to a remote environment. So what we found is that there was a period where that was presenting challenges in terms of our capacity to handle our customer queries. As we all did, I think we all had messages up saying, look, bear with us as we go through this. Our teams are stretched and there would be greater wait times. But what we found is our messaging channel actually allowed us to handle the volume of queries we're getting in a much more efficient manner and a much more suited manner to our customer needs. So we've always kind of talked about our messaging solution being kind of customer service on your terms and on your needs. And I think that's come to the fore in this period as well. So as I said, we would have had maybe 20-30% of our volumes going through that channel pre-COVID, as I would say, and we look at it now, and we were up at, as I kind of said, at one point at kind of 70-80% of it, and probably now around 60% of our volume going through it. But it meant customers could drop us their query. They weren't sitting on a line, they weren't sitting in an IVR queue. We could remotely go back to them. We could deploy some of our AI assisted bots, which could prompt customers with self-serve options. We could push them towards our online channels, our website, where we have a My Virgin Media self-serve function where people could check their bill balances, they could make payments and so forth. So really giving that flexibility to the customer to say, keep this connection with us and at a time that suits you and in a way that suits you, so that you're not sitting here. And I suppose, again, we also found that actually our time that our customers wanted to interact with us has shifted. So I suppose gone was the days of people going into work at 7:30 in the morning and coming home at 6 in the evening and talking to us at their lunch break or different things. As I am sitting here on a webinar to you, most people were sitting at home saying we need connectivity. So middle of the day, late in the evening, all times of the day, queries were coming in, our messaging solution allowed us to handle them in a timely fashion. As I said, using the AI bots, push things back to customers for self-serve, but also then capture their query and say, we'll come back to you. A customer could drop us in a note at 10 p.m. in the evening. We could pop back to them at 11. They could drop one in at 3 a.m. We'd pick it up at 7 a.m. when the guys came in. So really found those remote tools, really doubled down and supported our customers in it. I think our final area, to talk about it is that messaging solution and see where do we see it going. And I think, for us, I don't think any of these advancements or these changes that we've made over the last number of months are something we'll come back from. I think, if we look at the CSAT scores or the NPS scores we've got through our messaging solution and our visual tech, our remote tools, we've actually seen that customers have never been happier with the service we've been providing them, and are actually loving it. And I think all of us probably saw a little bit of an uplift at the beginning of COVID, where customers were just happy that someone was still there and able to service them. But as we've gone through it, the feedback we've got and the verbatims from customers have been very strong and saying, like, this, I can see that we matter to you. You can see that you're there. Actually, this really helps us. I love your messaging solution. For customers, and actually in my own circumstance, we have a family member who has to cocoon, saying it's great that you're able to still support us and keep us connected. We've had customers where their 80-year-old mother is living remote and they're not able to go and see them because of the lockdown. They were saying, we want to know they're okay. We were saying, actually, yeah, we've been in contact with them. We can see that everything's working, and give that feedback. So I don't think, for us, we will be going back away from any of these changes. Like, I think the customers very much have said it's something that works for them, and we see it as something that will continue to work for us. But I think for us in Virgin Media, the customer is always the center to that. And I think for us, keeping our customer first, we had to keep listening to our customers, right? So I think, how do you ensure that those tools that you're deploying or those changes that you've made will let your customers or meet their needs, and let them feel connected? So I think the first point I'd talk you through is we kept listening to customers. So I think for me, there was a point probably that weekend of the 12th of March when we went into lockdown, where we kind of took a step back and said, oh, should we stop sending out surveys? Should we stop asking questions? Customers have got a lot going on in their lives at the moment. Big changes, big scary things happening. Do they want a survey from Virgin Media asking what's going on? And I think we kind of dwelled on that, over that weekend as we were making some of the changes. And actually, when we looked at the verbatims and the feedback we were getting from our customers for surveys that had already gone out, we saw, no, actually, they really are continuing to engage with us. They really are, thanking us, but also feeding back to us on what matters to them. So we kept listening, we kept sending out those surveys, we kept looking at what was coming back on the verbatims. We also used our text analytics tools to look at what was coming through, both in our agent notes on the system, but also then on our messaging channel, to see what customers were saying. And through our messaging channel, we can also do some intent management and sentiment reviews, where we look at, well, what is the intent behind a customer's query and what's the sentiment that they're driving through. And with the agents and then our QA team, we actually said, right, well, let's start setting up a daily session where you can provide us feedback on what are the customers saying to you. So we had the text analytics doing it, but we also had the agents involved saying, what are you seeing? What's the queries coming through? And by listening to those customers, we were allowed to kind of say, right, well, this is actually what they need. This is the support that they need from us now, and it allowed us to refocus a little bit. So I suppose what came through very strongly in that first period was customers wanted to know that they were going to be kept connected and they were going to be kept informed. So very much for them, that was a priority. So we prioritized our support to say, we're going to prioritize customers with connectivity issues or with technical issues, meet those needs. We still will service bidding queries, account queries, any of those other queries you have, we will service them, but they'll fall in a kind of in second priority to our technical queries. Again, I suppose customers wanted to be informed. They wanted to know what was going on. So actually, we looked at what could we do to keep them informed. So we refocused some of our comms, some of our e-zines, some of our Play magazine as a newsletter we send out every quarter to customers, to tell them, this is what we're doing for you. This is how we're going to interact with you. Our e-zines pointed them to sites on our website where they could go. We looked at then also saying, well, let's bring some of these projects forward. So, we had some projects around those remote tools that I touched on the last slide, where we were saying, we're going to deploy some of these remote analysis tools later on this year or maybe next year. We actually pivoted and said, well, let's bring those projects forward now. Let's try and get them out there quickly so that we can, provide that sort of support to our customer, and we'll push other projects that, potentially weren't as vital at this time for down the path. One of the big call outs we saw from customers in that initial phase was actually that live sport had gone. So customers saying, I'm paying my Sky Sports premiums, I'm looking forward to watching the football or the rugby or whatever sport they were into. That's gone. And we found that a lot of customers were contacting us in that initial phase to say, well, what does that mean for me? How do we do? So we were able quite quickly to say, okay, we got that. We understood that from the analysis we've been doing, and, work to say to those customers, actually, we're going to pause your sports packages. So, set up a page on the website that customers could go to, log in, say, look, I want to pause my package for a 2-month period, and we'd apply that. So they didn't need to actually contact us anymore. They didn't need to come in. And if they came into our messaging solution again through the bots, we were able to push that link to them and say, here's where you go to deal with that, so that they were able to self-serve. I think, we're in a unique position as well as Virgin Media, that not only do we have a broadband and TV and an entertainment business, but actually we have a TV platform as well, a TV station in VMTV. So actually what we found there, again, with customers looking to be informed and connected, they said they wanted to know what was going on, that the news bulletin was actually massively important to them. So we extended our news bulletin, added more time to it, and gave that focus, so that every day, the bulletin moved to an hour. It covered what the government were saying. It covered the national health updates every day, and kept those customers connected. Now, at the same time, on our TV platform, we were actually saying, well, customers are at home. They're all, myself included, I have 3 children downstairs sitting trying to do homeschool or do different things, while I'm trying to sit up here and talk to you guys. And actually, entertainment came across key. So, obviously we provide that to our customers, but the content, was beginning to go as well. So in VMTV, we doubled down on increasing our live and local content on VMTV. So you would have seen, more local content on Ireland AM. You would have seen longer sessions. You would have seen more, home produced shows and dramas. And I think then, looking at that, we said, well, that's allowed that refocus. That's moved us into that new space. But how do we support our customer needs as we go on? So again, connectivity is core to what we do. So we actually changed our mobile contract. So we said, actually, for all customers, our move to an unlimited allowance for the period of COVID-19. So again, a lot of our packages would have been unlimited, but there were some customers who did have limits on their data sessions, on their call volumes, and so forth. So we said, we get that you're going to need to have connectivity now more than you ever have before. So we're going to remove that limit on it and give you unlimited packages to support them. Again, we sit here and say we were all working in offices. We're not. So we found actually suddenly there was a massive demand for a home worker product. So, we did have a home worker product where people who were in the offices and maybe working at home every now and then, that they could sign up to a contract and have their broadband at home. Obviously, the demand for that increased overnight. So that would have traditionally had a 24-month contract with it, because I suppose customers were making plans for their home working. We said customers don't know. They don't know how long they're going to be home. They don't know what they're going to do. So we removed the requirement for a 24-month contract on that and said, look, take it. If you need to cancel it in a month's time, you cancel it, that's fine. We, again, back to the entertainment the customers were looking for in their homes, we gifted extra channels. So we looked at, what are the most used channels that our customers would have for children's entertainment, for, entertainment for adults, for the whole family. And we gifted 9 extra channels to our customer base at that time, saying, like, look, these are ones that will help keep your family entertained and connected during the time. I think hopefully a few of you have also seen, our Backing Business campaign on Ireland AM, where we have a role in society. I think, and all of us, I sit here, I was joking with my team the other week, I've never shopped more locally. I've never had more deliveries from local greengrocers and different things to my home, but we felt we have a role in supporting that. So we backed those businesses. We got, the content up in Ireland AM and shared it with them. And actually we've doubled down on that since, with a €1 million support fund for local businesses nationwide, to kind of explain to them this is what we can do to give them advertising and to help get them back up and running. I think I'll just share with you a couple of screenshots of some of the comms that have gone out to our customer base, just to give you a sense of it. So, there's an email there from our CEO, Tony Hanway, just again, prioritizing keep you connected, how we do that, staying connected, what do we do, and how you can find that information. You'll see our website, our COVID-19 homepage, where we had one dedicated spot on the website where you could find out all the information you needed, how to access My Virgin Media. If a technician was coming to your home, what was the precautions we'd taken in place? If you didn't want them coming to your home, but you wanted connectivity, what did you do? How you would get a virtually socially distant package delivered to your door that the guy could deliver for you. All that information contained in one place, so the customers had a hub that they could go to. Again, our e-news that went out in April, really focused on talking customers how to optimize the Wi-Fi at home, how to make sure they're getting the best speeds, a helping hand, showing you how you can fix some problems remotely, where to go on our website if there is issues. And then our on-demand, again, just making sure customers are aware that there is an on-demand function that they can use, and showing them what that means for them. And actually, we even ran a 2 for the price of 1 kind of period in end of April and May as well, where if customers bought 1 on-demand movie, they got a second one free. So just making sure our customers were aware of what we were doing to support them through this journey. I think that kind of ties in quite nicely to heartfelt services, which is one of our key values in Virgin Media, tying in with building connections that really matter. And for us in CX, heartfelt service is probably the one that resonates the easiest. And I think we wouldn't have been able to deliver all those changes and support our customers if we didn't have heartfelt service. And I just wanted to share with you 2 stories we had. So one was about Mick. He's one of our technicians, and he got a job which was to go out and fix a broadband issue, standard job. Back in February he would have just gone out and done it. But actually the customer contacted us and said, look, I'm cocooning, I'm a cancer patient, I'm on chemo at the moment, I'm petrified of the world out there at the moment, I'm petrified of people coming into my house, but I don't have any other connection to the outside world because I'm cocooning. I can't go out. Your broadband is my lifeline. So through the tools and through the journey we'd set up, Mick was able to actually diagnose a remedy, and the problem remotely. He was able to fix the issue. He actually was able to go to the customer's property. You can see him there standing outside in his PPE to make sure he's not, but he was able to bring a box that he needed, drop it on the customer's door. The customer came out, picked it, we'd wiped it down beforehand, customer would have brought it in, and then Mick used our visual tool to actually, through the customer's phone, talk him through how to set that up and coach him and set it up and walk away. So the customer was back up and running without any issues from his side. And it's just a nice story to show what they can do. We have another snapshot here of one of our technicians in an apartment block. So there was a developer who had, just as this was all happening, had come to the point of saying, I've got 6 families due to move into an apartment block the next day. We don't have connectivity. They're really worried. What are we going to do? And they don't have anywhere else to go. Mick took it on himself to work with some of our partners and get you see him there in a cherry picker, but he got that apartment block connected the next day. That would have usually taken us a week or so when you go through all the checks and balances, but we understood our customers' needs. We said this needs to happen now, and we got that set up. So just some brief examples of where the changes we've made have actually really mattered to our customers. So I'm going to hand over to Niall, if that's okay. So in the spirit of ask the expert, I felt I'm an expert in some things, but Niall is our resident expert on staff engagement and kind of customer comms. So Niall's just going to take us through a few points of how we've kept our staff engaged, because it's vitally important to us that if we want to deliver that heartfelt service, we want to deliver those memorable experiences, you have to have engaged staff as you go through it. So I'll hand over to Niall.
Cheers. Thanks, Eric. First of all, one of our mantras here in Virgin Media is happy staff, make happy customers. The first one there, let's catch up. I don't know about you, but I definitely missed bumping into our colleagues, going to the water cooler, catching up with them, or even going down the stairs and going to the canteen. Eric already mentioned there that we actually employed just under 100 new staff. So what they did was they came into the office for a half-day's training, and then were working remotely at home. So to integrate them into their teams, what we did was we set up 10-minute catch-ups with a more tenured agent. And so they could basically get to know their team that they're already in. This is tough enough as it is, and especially starting a new job, as tough as it is. The next one then, our social club, Club Red. Basically, we're all in this. We've done everything from climb challenges to dress up karaoke. We've done bingo on a Saturday night, some great prizes on it as well. Exercise class as well in the morning. And the evening just keeps all going as well. Thrive. This is obviously mental health and well-being is really important to us. So we've worked with Leia, and we've had continuous webinars where everyone can dip in and out. Obviously, it's tough enough as it is, so we need to look after ourselves. On Friday, this is where I get involved with the team, with 2 people leader calls. One is on a Tuesday, where there's over 50 people on it. That's the more serious one. But on a Friday, what we try and do from about 3 o'clock is kick off the weekend. So really what we've done is we've almost exhausted all of our game shows that we've ever had, from Name That Tune, Guess the Movie by Emoji, and Guess the Baby Picture. So obviously things are going on. This week we're actually doing Family Fortunes. That should be an interesting one. All hands. We've tried to make sure that everyone is still connected. So we've made sure that our team connections, our departmental ones, and even our global ones. And we had Mike Freeze host one of our global webinars. He's the CEO and chairman of Liberty Global from his own house in Denver. So we've still gone on with all our town halls to make sure that we're still trying to fit in with the new normal. Zoom actually launched this Monday. It's our staff survey. It's 9 questions. It only takes about 2 or 3 minutes, but basically we want to hear from our colleagues to see what they want, because obviously, again, to quote, happy staff make happy customers. So once we know what they're doing, and then we're trying to implement that as the year goes on and this pandemic slowly fades out. Customer engagement. Obviously, customers, we need to keep our staff engaged. We also need to keep our customers engaged. So Eric again mentioned there about back in business. And this initiative that was launched in Ireland AM, and we picked 3 businesses, inspiring businesses a week, and they run over 3 ads for that week of Virgin Media 1, 2, and 3. And there was a €1 million budget put on for where they could apply for it, basically to help our local businesses nationwide. Making connections that really matter. These are some things that we've actually run across all our social media, just to make sure there's some fun things here. The next one is our VM goals, where basically it was to introduce what is your lockdown skill. So it's anything from how many steps you can get up. We've seen some in where kicking toilet rolls, cycling, everything goes. It's basically just to get the customer involved with ourselves as well. Obviously, Eric again mentioned there about Sky Sports. Sky Sports is gone at the moment, so what we've done is we've asked people to vote in what they'd love to see again. So obviously some of our favourite matches have been replayed. And then obviously some of our feel good videos. I'm sure you've seen some of our ads, basically just showing how we've kept our customers connected. Obviously, when older people can't meet their new grandchildren and stuff like that, we've shared that over social media.
Thanks, Niall. And look, I suppose, as I said, it was a slight whistle-stop tour, but I suppose we just wanted to give you an overview of how we've really kept the customer at the heart of what we're doing, but some of the changes that we've made. And I think, those slides there that Niall took you through when we talk about staff engagement and customer engagement, that's really shown to us. And I hope some of you have probably seen our ads on TV or social media over the last while of how we've worked to keep our customers, connected, but allow them to stay connected, stay safe, and stay home. And I think, for us as a business, we're very proud of how that's gone. And actually, when we look at the feedback we've got from our customers over the last number of weeks or months, or since March or before the period of the COVID world that we're in now, the voices come back very strong for them. Like, we've actually never had stronger NPS scores. We've never had stronger CSAT scores. Like, our customers have really embraced the journey we've gone on with them. And I think, as I said, we don't see that changing. I think, from here on in, the reality is the world is probably going to stay a little bit socially distant for the foreseeable future. And I think the customers have enjoyed and embraced the changes we've made to our model. So we probably will continue. But I said, just wanted to leave a few minutes in case anyone had any questions. So I don't know, Dorothy, if there's any come through.
Yeah, first question Eugene has asked, in terms of training new staff, what were the main challenges and how did you address them?
Yeah, so I think, as Niall said, we brought in 100 new agents down to Limerick, and even we've had new people join our finance team. So it is a challenge. We weren't set up to work people remotely. So actually, what we found is we were able to set up a scenario where we brought the new hires in to our site in Limerick in a safe and socially distant manner for half a day, where they were onboarded, they picked up their laptop, they picked up their equipment, and they kind of started their induction training. Once they'd completed that half day, they went back home to their remote environment. And actually, our training team had moved the training and induction to an online. So the first number of weeks or days that the guys were with us, they went through online training. So our training team, again, similar to our customers, pivoted from that usual classroom-based training to saying we're actually going to do this all remotely. And I think Niall talked about some of our coffee sessions. We actually hosted particular kind of engagement sessions with the new hires, just to welcome on the business, reach out to them, meet them, bring people from different parts of the business together to kind of welcome and talk to them. So feedback from them has been very strong. It is different, and it is a challenge. Like I don't think we found any way of not training people. So I think it's something we'll continue to work on.
And the next question, I think everybody's struggling with this at the moment. What are your plans in terms of reopening the contact center? What are you thinking at this point in time that you're going to do?
Yeah, so like I suppose, as every business, as you said, we're looking at those plans. At the moment, I suppose we're not rushing back into our contact center tomorrow. I think as we've said, the model we have at the moment has actually worked very well, and it has provided us a great deal of insight into how you can work in this manner. I think we will have some teams back over the next number of months when it's safe to do so, but I don't envisage just going back to the contact center full force at any time in the short term.
You love this one. Ronan has just put in a comment to say, as a Virgin customer, Wi-Fi has been excellent during lockdown. So
that's good.
Well done, well done. Niall, in terms of engagement, I mean, how do you see it going forward? I know I'm sort of conscious in this series of webinars, companies have had to work an awful lot harder at engagement because of that physical block of people not being in the same environment. So how do you see this continuing until such time as we're back to normal, whatever that's going to be, as we all keep saying?
Well, basically at the moment we've kind of taken it month by month and seeing how the phases are going out. So obviously, how long Fun Fridays will last, we don't know. We'll keep going. I've no problem hosting a game show every Friday afternoon, but I think some people are gradually going back into the office, and obviously it's going to depend on whether you want to go in for a day or two and how it will work like that. But at the moment, we're having fun with our checking in on everyone on an afternoon on a Friday to make sure everyone's still connected.
And it's actually an interesting point.
Sorry, go on,
like, just on our engagement, like we as I mentioned our Zoom survey we're doing, but we've done interim surveys as we've gone with our teams, and actually engagement has never been stronger. Like all of our teams have called out, I've never felt as connected to my colleagues. And I suppose, we have sites across the country and across Europe. So the fact we're all working in this remote way has meant we've had to interact more this way. We've all seen each other's living room, we've all seen kids jump on top of each other and stuff. So I think we've all got to know each other in some ways a slightly more intimate way, I think, ironically, even though we're socially distanced. So I think we're very happy with how engagement's gone, but I think it's nice that it will change. I think we're conscious that as we go through all these phases of COVID, engagement plans will have to move. So we don't have an answer where we'll be in 6 months, but we know it's a continually evolving journey.
Another question from Megan. At what percentage of productivity is your contact center working from? Have you been able to maintain it 100%?
Yeah, we were actually just talking this through yesterday. So, we've seen ups and downs. I think, some of our agents were long tenured agents who had been with us for a number of years. When they went home, it was a different environment for them. They were used to having a colleague beside them that they could ask a question or do so. So we probably saw a little bit of dip in productivity at the start, but they've come right back up to where we would have expected them. And then our new hires actually, they've hit the ground running quite strongly. Obviously, they're not, as productive as a long tenured agent, and they're still learning some things. But actually, productivity has been quite good. I think it's something that you have to watch, and I think as we've moved through it, you do move more into performance management phases of this home working, where you can actually say, okay, how do we measure it? Like we were talking about our real-time analyst team the other day and saying, it used to be you stood up at a contact center, you could see the agents if they're logged in on notes or working on follow-up cases. Now you don't see that, right, because they're in their home and you're in your home. So I think some of the tools that we use and how we measure that will probably have to change, but productivity has been good, thankfully.
That's great. And I think actually an interesting observation that was made on one of our earlier webinars is that people think, there seems to be a view that people are being more productive because they want to prove the business case for home working for when this all changes. And, some people do want to continue home working, some people don't. But I think there was a general view that was something, people were doing. Yeah,
no, I think you're right. We'd echo that as a business. Like, we haven't dropped productivity. We've continued with projects. We've continued with, new offers, new development. Our contact center stayed up, our field engineers. So actually, I think it's probably the biggest home working experiment the world has ever done. We didn't all think we'd do it, but actually, it's shown that it can work, and it's worked very well. And I think that's as I said, we're not rushing back into our office tomorrow. I think, with the situation the way it is, it's not the right thing to do. So, we'll have a very staggered return to work, but I don't see us fully going back in the same way we would have been.
Great. I'm conscious of time, and we're gone a couple of minutes over. So just want to say thank you so much to Eric and to Niall. I think really valuable insights there, really useful information. I know you're both happy to have a chat, a follow-up if anybody wants more detail on any of the things we've discussed. We're going to have a copy of the presentation, and obviously a recording of the video up on the website later today as well. So thanks so much for that. Really appreciate it. And just our normal housekeeping, our next webinar is Wednesday, which is with Dr. Nicola Millard from BT, another interesting insight into the future and where she sees things going and from a technology perspective. And the details for Fridays we're going to have up on the website later today as well. I just need to confirm the title with our speaker, Mark Benton. And lastly, to mention, our survey is closing today, so our working from home survey and looking at people's plans for reopening, we could do with 1 or 2 more responses. So anybody on the call that hasn't responded, that's interested in taking part, just drop me an email afterwards and we'd be delighted for you to do that. But thanks so much, Eric and Niall. Look forward to seeing you in November, but I'm sure I'll see you before then, and seeing all the entries from Virgin again this year. But really appreciate your time from both of you this morning.
And thanks everybody for joining us. Give us the time.
Thanks, Niamh.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.